Hello and welcome into Nebraska Postgame right here on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. I'm Ben Droz. I'm just going to be running the board, but I'm joined here in studio with the one and only Eric Strickland. Strick, before we get into the game, I just want to ask, how are you doing tonight?
Doing all right, my friend. Oh, there we go.
I got your mic on. Now I'm doing my job.
I wanted to make sure it was all good. Listen, I'm doing good. Shout out to everybody that's back in Omaha. I can tell you that I'm in Lincoln. I will be staying here tonight. But
nice.
From what I'm hearing about Omaha, I hear that you guys really need to be safe. They say it's really slick up there.
Raising little ones is a big job.
My bad.
That's all good. So just really be safe. Ben's not feeling well as well tonight, so don't mind him. But welcome to the post-game show. It was a good game, Ben. It was a good one of the things that I've got to say about this squad is what I wanted to see is a bounce back. I wanted to see how they would recover. Yeah. You're talking about almost 6 days to almost a week of time. What was their practice going to reveal? What was their mindset going to be? Was this going to be a one-off, just kind of a situation where you ran into a buzzsaw for a night, and how that was all going to play out? You saw from the start, got off to a pretty good start, shooting the ball, shot the ball really well in the first half, looked pretty good in running their stuff, didn't do anything too crazy, not crazy on the turnovers, ultimately ended up with 14 for the night. Not too bad.
Yeah.
Not too bad.
Could definitely be better.
Could have been better, but the areas that they didn't do very well was definitely at the free throw line tonight. Definitely went there, just didn't shoot the ball very well from the free throw line. And so, but the bounce back, the intensity, the defense, few lapses here and there in the rebounds, but for the most part, it was a pretty solid night.
The free throw thing, though, that's kind of something that's been this entire season, not just like this one game. Like, I feel like Nebraska has kind of, at least early on this season, has kind of regressed from the free throw department compared to last year. I feel, I don't want to say they're like way worse. They're gonna probably shoot better by the end of the year. But I'm saying I definitely don't think this is gonna be as good of a free throw shooting team as they were last year.
Yeah, but you're probably right about that. But still, you can't go to the free throw line 26 times and then and they've been getting there pretty well, except for the game against Michigan State. Didn't really get there that as much. Yeah. But you've got to be, you're a good enough shooting team that you've definitely got to be over at least 72%. Like if you want to be a great team in the Big Ten, I still think the Big Ten is an open market for an opportunity.
It is
to do some things within the Big Ten, but you definitely got to shoot the free throws at I would say about a 78 clip. If you want to be in the top tier, especially just being a team that's just solid, doesn't do anything particularly well, doesn't really have that go-to guy outside of Bryce Williams. Bryce Williams played very well tonight. I've got to say I got a chance to see one of the scouts for the Dallas Mavericks who happened to be at one of my camps when I was a young fella, still playing for the Mavs, and he was there looking at what the Nebraska had to offer and probably what Bryce looked like. And so for them, a couple of scouts was actually up there for them to be up in the stands tonight to have this kind of game going. 30 points. Bryce Williams goes for 30 points, 10 out of 15, 2 of 3 from 3, 8 of 11 from the free throw with 6 rebounds, 5 assists, and only 2 turnovers in 34 minutes. Solid game tonight.
Yeah.
As we do the rundown with Indiana and Nebraska, I will allow Ben to run those numbers down to you, what the game looked like. But they actually played very well consistently as a team.
Yeah.
The areas of Ben that you hope you didn't get overwhelmed in was definitely in the rebounds, in the turnovers, and those turnovers turning into points. And that didn't happen tonight. They went even on the free throw. And then the other area I'll talk about after you run the numbers as far as how the game went from Indiana as well as Nebraska and who scored and did what throughout this game.
Before I get to that, I just want to give a shout out to our sponsors. Don't want to forget to do that. I want to thank Action Plumbing, Heating, and Electrical, as well as Lincoln Wall-to-Wall Wine and Spirits for sponsoring the postgame show. But yeah,
one of my favorite spots.
Yeah, some of the numbers. Indiana had less turnovers. Nebraska 14 to Indiana's 9. But other than that, a lot of stats very even. Rebounding, both teams had 35, even as you can get. Nebraska 16 assists to 10 assists. Points in the paint, Nebraska outdid Indiana in that department. 36 points in the paint for Nebraska to 24 for Indiana. So that's pretty good. Nebraska kind of dominated the interior. And then field goal percentage. Nebraska almost doubled Indiana's field goal percentage. Indiana only shot 35% from the field. Nebraska 61. Not quite. They would have had to get up to 70. But still, like, almost shot twice the shooting percentage of Indiana. You're probably going to win if you shoot almost twice as well as the other team.
Well, no doubt about it. I mean, you get 65 shots at the rim, and you only go for 35. With that, 35 of those shots, half of your shots were from three, and you couldn't sink the barrel in the bottom of a lake, let alone a puddle.
They shot 8 of 35 from the 3-point line compared to Nebraska's 8 for 14.
Very efficient.
Nebraska made the same amount of threes, but took 21 less. I mean, that just is crazy. I feel like that was kind of Nebraska's game plan, was to make Indiana a 3-point shooting. That was definitely like the point of emphasis in this game.
Well, they definitely had their funnel method. They didn't allow Ballo to go nuts tonight. You know, he's averaging about 15 points. So they really contained him on the inside. Renault has been a problem for them in the past.
Mm-hmm.
He had just a basic game. So guys that you would have thought they needed to have a really good game, especially on their interior. Indiana needs their interior players to play well and for them to have any types of success. They did not do that. One of the areas of improvement that I wanted to see coming out of the Michigan State game as well was their assist numbers. Their assist numbers were dismal. I want to say they only had like 5 assists against Michigan State. They just weren't able to get down. They weren't able to create. Tonight, they were able to get downhill a little bit. They were able to find space a little bit, got Essegian a couple of looks to get him going as well tonight. But those assist numbers were up, which they had not been, and Bryce Williams led the way in that department.
Do you feel like that was more of just, Nebraska not shooting the ball very well? Because, I mean, you can have a perfect pass, wide open 3-point shot, but if you miss it, I mean, it doesn't go in the stat category for an assist. But in this game, do you feel like it was more Nebraska that shot the ball better that led to more assists, or did you feel like there was more ball movement, better offensive play?
I want to say there was definitely better offensive play. Now, I understand what you're saying, Ben. You're absolutely right. You got to hit it. You got to hit a shot. But here's the difference between last night and the night.
All right.
They were able to get downhill, create some form of a help, find the next guy, take a good shot, and they happened to make more of them. Against Michigan State, they had no room. Yeah. A lot of the shots they were taking were challenged. They were forced. They were hard shots. They were post shots with someone not being able to get that kind of space that they needed. And I was glad to see them finally get Mia involved. Like he had a couple of opportunities in the paint today. He got good seals. He ran. He did all the things that he should have did in the minutes that were gifted unto him, 15 minutes. He earned them. He played well. But if the big fella gets somebody sealed with his back dang near under the basket, you got to find him. And a couple good drives, they found him a good dunk tonight. So I would like to see and find more ways for them to get Mia involved. Shout out to Andrew Morgan with a really good game as well, coming off the bench on only 18 minutes, very efficient with 10 points off of 4 or 5 shooting. And, so good minutes across the board. As you can see, 10 guys played, but significant minutes. What is that? 9 or 10 guys got significant minutes tonight. Significant minutes.
Yeah, 15 or more.
Yeah. So that shows the versatility, the balance, as well as the depth of what Nebraska, and that's without even playing Gavin Griffiths.
Yeah.
So
I mean, Nebraska definitely with their minutes is going to be a little top heavy. Bryce Williams and Gary are always going to get over that 30-minute threshold usually. If it's a close game. But I mean, after that, it's kind of just very even spread. Connor Essegian, though, put in 28 minutes. He's
coming
been
off the bench.
I know he's been a really big part of this team. Can you kind of just talk about just him making those 3-pointers and just everything he's doing on the court, how much that has helped Nebraska?
Well, he looks poised. He looks calm. I would even say better tonight. He worked off of the ball really good, set up his screens tonight to curl and either backdoor, work off the other side. He did a good job tonight in just not settling or trying to go one way or feeling that he had to force something. He was able to get into his stroke. They were able to find him with some space tonight, and he was able to get a release. He's got a really good quick release, so that helped him tonight to be able to find his rhythm, and he definitely got into it. Coming off the bench, he's going to be a fire starter for them, and he wants to continue to do that. That's what they're going to need for him off the bench.
Do you see him sticking in that bench role? Can you see, if he keeps continuing to play really well, that they can maybe move him into the starting lineup?
I would say keep him there.
All right.
I would say you want to have someone to come off that can give you spark, that can continue.
And that's the season.
Because what you're going to have at times is there may be some inconsistencies with Gary. He shot the ball good tonight, but he's a streak shooter. He's not necessarily a consistent shooter. He had really good arc on his shot tonight, but he's not a consistent shooter. And so when he struggles, you want to be able to have that balance of someone to come in and just in not facilitate, but help that second team to get a little bit of traction going so that you can maintain as you get halfway through the first half.
Nebraska closed the game out very well. I mean, they ended the game on a 17-1 run over the last 6.5 minutes. Indiana they only made one of their last 18 shots. I mean, when you left the arena during the timeout to come to the station, it was like, what, a 2-point game or one? And then all of a sudden you came and you were like, they're up by 12. What's happening?
It was a couple of points, and I'll talk this through if you need to go, and if my partner shows up. But
yeah,
it was like, I want to say a 3 or 4 point game. I still thought it was, I was wondering when I got in the car what it was going to look like.
Yeah, I
get into the station and I look up and I'm like, Ben, what happened in just 2 minutes? It's like a 13-point lead within just 2 minutes of coming out of that timeout. So yeah, they the well must have went dry. They definitely went cold, and they were thirsty. They were dried up like a doggone prune in the hot sun.
You're probably going to struggle if you only make one of 18 shots to end the game. I mean, that's just
yeah, it's no bueno.
I mean, Nebraska, Nebraska played well in that stretch, but I mean, that was definitely Indiana kind of just not being able to do anything, and Nebraska just feeding off of that momentum, being at home, which definitely helped. I mean, credit to Nebraska for taking advantage of it, but definitely kind of, I don't want to say bailed out, but the poor shooting from Indiana was kind of a big part of tonight's game. I just still want to talk about, I feel like this game was very well set up for Nebraska to win, because every team that kind of focuses on trying to get the ball into the paint, Nebraska has been pretty good against. I mean, you go back to Creighton, they shut down Creighton on the interior. And then in this game, I mean, again, Nebraska just dominates the interior. I feel like Nebraska this season is probably going to struggle with more perimeter-oriented teams. But if they can face, you're going to face a lot of these kind of teams in the Big Ten that try to get it down to the post. I feel like Nebraska's going to have a lot of success against those teams.
Well, that is something that they do well, because they're that they're coming. Where they struggle is against teams that pass well, especially out of the post, that are able to find guys on that weak side. But they did a good job on Chris rotations tonight. That was something that I was watching for. A lot of those skip passes, they X'd out really well. What I mean by X out, whoever the guy that is at the top of the rotation got to that corner really good. The second guy without hesitation got to the guy to the top. So they did a really good job of working on that. But the main thing for me is having that layoff, starting off the Big Ten the way that you did in East Lansing with a big loss, 89-52, 38-point loss. Was it 37? 37-point loss. And next thing you know, you're coming back home where your record last year, that was one of the best things that you had going for you, not only in conference play, but in non-con, only loss being Creighton at home. You're 18-1. You're now 5-0 at home. You want to continue to maintain that.
Yeah.
I've always said this, Ben. I've said this even going back to the time that I played. You take care of home. If you handle things at home, you go on the road and sneak a couple of games. You may not win them all, but you go out there and sneak a couple. That puts you in a good position within the layout of the Big Ten as far as the rankings. And then you can find yourself peaking at a possibility, depending on the strength of the conference that year, of getting into the NCAA tournament. So now they did that. They took care of home. That's good. Now you're going to get to go to the sun and fun. You're going to get an opportunity to go and get away from the cold and head out to Miami. Out to Hawaii, where you're going to play against Murray State to start off. And then thereafter, you'll either face Charlotte, which Bryce, I'm sure, would love to handle that, being that he played there, and then Hawaii, and then see who's going to come out of that tournament there. And so you'll be there through Christmas, and then you'll come back home. If you can handle business out there, you come back home against Southern Illinois before you get back into Big Ten play with a home game against UCLA, where we'll see a home, my alma mater, Bellevue West, William Kyle the third will be coming back here to play at the Pinnacle Bank Arena, where he plays some state tournaments. So we'll get a chance to see him. So that's going to be a good stretch for them. Some good non-cons, get away from Nebraska, have a good, holiday and Christmas out there in the hot sun.
I think that's going to be a good, little tournament going out to Hawaii for Nebraska. My concern, still is how well can this team perform on the road? We saw the team kind of struggled on the road last year. When you're not in Pinnacle Bank Arena with that crowd behind you, Nebraska, no team's going to play better usually on the road than at home. But Nebraska in particular has kind of struggled when not being in Lincoln. Do you feel like that's something Nebraska can overcome this season, or do you think that's something that can maybe continue to plague them this season?
Well, I got a chance to go up to South Dakota and watch them play against St. Mary's, and
that was a good game.
That was a really good game that they had on a neutral floor. That's really what you've got going on when you go to this tournament. You're going to be playing teams on a neutral floor. There's no advantage for any particular team. As long as you go out there and you're solid, you don't go out there throwing the ball all over the lot, turning the ball over, giving easier opportunities. You play with some passion, you play with some spunk, and then you might be able to come out of there with a few wins, and then come back home and prepare your mind to get ready for a strong run in the Big Ten. I think that's the way you've got to approach it, man. Just know that you can't just go out of there and play lackluster and just play free willy and then think that things are going to happen for you. You've got to still continue to maintain playing well, distributing the ball, making sure you're limiting turnovers, and being solid in all the areas of especially rebounding and defense, and just not letting things go too easy for any other teams that they're going to play. Because Murray State's not going to have Ja Morant. So
yes, he is in the NBA.
Yeah, so don't worry about that. And Charlotte doesn't have Bryce. We got him. So they're gonna play their tail off, because this is an opportunity for them to shine. This is an opportunity for them to get a quality win out of a big conference team. So they're gonna come and bring it. If you don't match their intensity, you come up short and find yourself sad on the way home, all the way through a joyous time of Christmas when you should be happy.
Back in your day when you were playing, we just kind of go back to, Nebraska, huge loss to Michigan State. Game wasn't really close. You kind of talked about, playing with intensity on the road, keeping, not playing too loose. How much of a difference when you played was it from, losing by 30 to losing by 5? Did you see that as a difference? Or did you just that's an L either way? It doesn't really matter how does it look. An L is an L.
No, it depends on how you played, but you can still play a good game and just come up super short. Yeah. You can do that. But my thing is, when you have those type of games, Ben, you just can't lay down and wait for the enemy to just come and murk you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you're in a war, you stay in the fight until the end, right? Just keep battling, keep giving your all, and then make a 30-point game, a 20-point game. And then you can feel better about it. But at the same time, that happens. When that does happen, it's just the recovery. How do you rebound? That's what you always want to see. What's your intensity level? Are you going to have the sad, bitter bear face?
How do you respond?
And I thought they met the challenge and they responded well tonight.
I mean, yeah, it was a close game all the way up until, the final 6 minutes where Nebraska kind of ran away from it. I mean, after this Diamond Head Classic tournament that they're going to be in, they then have Southern University and then Big Ten slate again, UCLA at home, and then Iowa and Purdue on the road. That's going to be kind of a tough stretch.
That's a tough stretch.
That's a tough stretch.
Yeah, Iowa took a tough loss against the rival of Iowa State.
Iowa State's good, though.
They're good. They're good, and that's a tough one. But the key here is what I think in the Big Ten this year is that home teams I think you'll see do well, and I think you'll see road teams in a fight. I think you'll see a lot more closer games than you probably would expect. Probably Purdue is probably the best of the team. I think Rutgers is one of the most athletic of the teams, even though they've took some losses. So always going out to College Park is going to be a tough one. And then you've got newcomers in the mix, which is going to be like SC they're going to face, as well as Oregon. I think Illinois is probably down a little bit. They've lost a lot. And I believe also Wisconsin is trying to refine themselves and retool. So you're going to see some of the newcomers as well as some of the old heads. And it's just a matter of taking care of home and going on the road and taking care of business when you get an opportunity to steal one or two or three or four, hopefully.
All right, let's throw it to break. When we come back, we're going to be hopefully joined by Oz Norman, who was at the game, and he went to the post-game press conferences. We can get his thoughts and what happened, what Hoiberg said after the game. But you're listening to Nebraska Husker men's basketball post-game right here on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Alexa, play 93.7 The Ticket.
Okay, playing 93.7 The Ticket.
Alexa, turn down the lights.
Dimming the lights.
Alexa, order a pizza, the big one, all the toppings.
Are you sure that's a good idea?
Alexa.
That's a lot of pizza for just one man.
Alexa, just do it. Stop judging me, just do it.
As you wish.
Thanks, Alexa. You're my best friend.
93.7 The Ticket is proud to provide listeners with daily opportunities to win contests and prizes on our airwaves, and would like to take this opportunity to remind you of a couple rules. All participants must be 21 or older and must wait 30 days after winning a prize before participating in another contest. Once you win, you have 30 days to pick up your prize at the K&TK Studios, 1040 O Street in Lincoln, or your prize will be forfeit. Thank you for participating in our contest, and thank you for listening to 93.7 The Ticket.
As a teacher and a parent, I know that a key ingredient to student success is parental involvement. I'm Tim Royers, president of the Nebraska State Education Association. Read to your young child and then ask them what they think of the story. Talk about school and current events with your teenager. Encourage them to become involved in school activities or to volunteer in the community. And watch for those teachable moments at home. Working together, we can help every child succeed.
Sponsored by the Nebraska State Education Association, aired by the Nebraska Broadcasters Association in this station.
Bagels & Joe is the perfect place for breakfast or lunch in December. Try one of their delicious breakfast sandwiches or grilled breakfast burritos. Don't forget to snag a gift card for stocking stuffers and bring your family in from out of town. 4 locations in Lincoln and 1 in Seward. Bagels & Joe.
Are you a veteran looking for a new companion animal? A dog, a cat, or maybe something else? The Nebraska Department of Veterans Affairs Vets Get Pets program can cover up to $350 of your pet adoption fees. Visit veterans.nebraska.gov/vetsgetpets to learn more about program requirements and how to apply. Want to help support the program? Get your Vets Get Pets specialty license plates from the Nebraska DMV. Sponsored by the Nebraska Department of Veterans Affairs. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
I think it's just vapor. Vaping is safer than smoking, isn't it?
There's really not even that much nicotine in them, right?
One vape pod has as much nicotine as 1 pack of cigarettes.
My kid
knows it's dangerous. 5.4 million American kids vape, and most think it's harmless. Get your head out of the cloud. Talk to your kid about vaping. Visit talkaboutvaping.org. That's talkaboutvaping.org. Brought to you by the American Lung Association and the Ad Council.
'Tis the season to raise a little Cane by bringing Raising Cane's hand-battered cook-to-order chicken fingers to your holiday celebration. Spread joy and good cheer with crispy crinkle-cut fries, garlicky buttered Texas toast, and our signature Cane sauce. Make things even merrier with our festive beanies, socks, mugs, and more for everyone on your nice list. And for a little extra holiday spirit, drop a Cane's gift card in their stockings. Happy holidays from Raising Cane's. One love.
Ashiro's work is never done. You care for the house, the kids, and our future. We're so grateful for all you do. Now it's time to care for yourself and save a little more for retirement. A free 3-minute online chat can give you the personalized tips you need to boost your retirement savings now. Visit aceyourretirement.org/Shiro today.
A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
At Midwest Bank, they want to thank all the generous donors who helped make their 2024 Turkey Drive for Schools a success. Thanks to the generosity, they raised enough money to provide 153 families across 6 different schools in Lincoln with a full Thanksgiving meal. With your support, they made Thanksgiving Day for those families a little brighter. They want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas. Your community, your bank. Midwest Bank. Member FDIC.
At Union Bank, people don't have your money. Your money has people. First home people, investment people, people who answer the phone and your chats, dream car people, dream retirement people, driving your dream car in your dream retirement people, small business people, credit card people, and all the other people you need. At Union Bank, our people help you do more than you dreamed possible. So stop in and say hello. We can't wait to see you. Union Bank and Trust. Member FDIC.
Hi, I'm Trooper Ty with the Nebraska State Patrol. Winter weather can create dangerous driving conditions on Nebraska roadways. It's critical that you understand the conditions before hitting the road. Nebraska's 511 system provides updates on the road conditions, road closure, live camera views from across the state, and you can even track where plows are on state highways. And if you become stranded on the road, call star 55 and we'll send a trooper to help. Thank you and drive safe, Nebraska.
This message presented by the Nebraska State Patrol, the Nebraska Broadcasters Association, and the NDOT Highway Safety Office.
Dreaming of a green Christmas this year? Make it a reality with Acres. We're offering 0% for 60 months financing on most new John Deere compact tractors, Gator UTVs, and mowers. From moving snow to landscaping the perfect yard, John Deere equipment turns chores into child's play. Visit your local Acres store to start shopping today. Act now. These incentives expire December 31st, 2024. Financing programs approved credit with John Deere Financial. Some restrictions may apply.
Outside is where winter adventure unfolds. On frozen lakes, icy landscapes, and snow-covered slopes. Feeling the cold air rush by as you race downhill. The freedom of gliding with ease and the warmth of being together. From epic sled rides to the fun of ice fishing, it's all right here beneath Nebraska skies. Start your winter adventure at yournebraskaparks.com. Sponsored by Nebraska Game and Parks, aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Associations and this station.
One last segment here on the Nebraska men's basketball postgame right here on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. I'm Ben Drostrick, headed out, and I'm just going to kind of hold it down until Austin joins, if we get him to join on the stream. But kind of just, again, recapping the game, Nebraska beats Indiana 85-68. Nebraska ends the game on a 17-1 scoring run over the last 6.5 minutes. Indiana only made one of their last 18 shots, helping Nebraska carve out a really important win at home, you know, kind of bouncing back after that bad loss against Michigan State, where they lost to Michigan State 89-52 on the road. And that's kind of my main takeaway is, yes, this is a great performance at home for Nebraska, but can they do it on the road? And I see now that we are joined on the stream by Austin Orman. He's going to have to unmute his mic because it's not letting me do it. But Austin,
I'm here, YB.
All right. How are you?
Doing great. What a win for Nebraska men's basketball, 85-68. The final. I want to credit Nebraska for the way they started the game, right? That was a big focus for this team after Michigan State. Huskers finding ways to throw the first punch. But here's the other part of this, Ben. Indiana, in its last game of this caliber that went similarly to this, didn't respond. When Indiana and Louisville played to open things up down in the battle for Atlantis in the Bahamas, it was a, I think, 8 to 12 point game at halftime in favor of the Cardinals, who then blew it open in the second half. Indiana never responded, right? This is an Indiana group that's learned, that's grown, that's gotten better, and it's such a talented roster. It is such a talented roster that you figured, that response against Louisville wouldn't be the norm moving forward. It sure wasn't tonight, but Nebraska did a good job, led by the guys you would think, Bryce Williams and Juwan Gary, of weathering the storm. Indiana would end up leading by as much as 4 a couple times, but Nebraska never let it get out of reach, whereas Nebraska got up 17 late in this game. That's the final margin. Nebraska does have a 10-0 run, aka a kill shot, according to Evan Miyakawa, but then it was off the bench, right? Connor Sejan, 7th man, not 6th man tonight, and you got a standout performance from Andrew Morgan. Was it a perfect game from Nebraska? Absolutely not. Lots to clean up, and we'll get to that here in just a minute, but overall, one of Nebraska's better games of the year, and a pretty strongly needed victory after what happened last weekend up in East Lansing.
Before I ask you about what Hoiberg said post-game, again, just post-game coverage, I want to thank our sponsors real quick. Sponsors, Action Plumbing, Heating, AC, and Electrical, as well as Lincoln Wall-to-Wall Wine and Spirits. Thank you for sponsoring Nebraska post-game. But before we get to Hoiberg comments, I asked Strick this. I want to ask it to you again. Again, I feel like this is a very good home win for Nebraska. We know Nebraska has dominated at home over the last 2 seasons. They're 23-1 the last 2 seasons under Hoiberg. But I feel like it's the road. Can Nebraska get it done against good teams on the road? That is still my question. And obviously that wasn't going to be answered tonight. It was a home game. But do you feel like this team can go out and put up this kind of a performance on the road against a team of this caliber?
I still feel like it's always a tougher road to hoe when you go on the road, right? You're on the road. It's a change in routine, a disruption to it. No matter how long you're in college basketball, it's different. You play half or more of your games at home. Overall for Nebraska, it's well over half. Obviously, it's 50-50 in conference. As of right now, Ben, the performance at Michigan State is still the aberration. It's still the game that stands out as the exception to the rule. I don't think Nebraska will play that poorly or that disengaged, that disinterested again this year. Will Nebraska be able to survive, 15 offensive rebounds from Indiana? Will Nebraska be able to survive missing 9 free throws, including 3 from Bryce Williams? Will Nebraska be able to survive 8 first half turnovers on the road? Probably not. But when the Huskers did get a shot, it was really good. They got good looks. They finished at a pretty high rate. They were extremely efficient. So despite the 17-point margin that you absolutely give Nebraska credit for clamping down in the last 7 minutes of the game, holding the Hoosiers to just 1 of 18 over the last 7 minutes of that game. If Nebraska plays like that in the first half, they probably won't be up 3 very many times, but credit them for finding a way to be, and then keeping Indiana pretty much at arm's length, aside from one run in the middle of the second half.
All right, let's get to some Hoiberg, post game. What was kind of your main takeaways from what Hoiberg had to say after the game?
He was really impressed with what Bryce Williams and Juwan Gary did in practice, right? After the game against Michigan State, Fred Hoiberg said, yeah, that started in practice. We did not have a good week of prep. Guys didn't step up. It just wasn't good across the board. So more so than the 30 points from Bryce Williams in 34 and a half minutes, more so than the 5 of 10 shooting, the 21 it was 14 points, 21 plus minus for Juwan Gary. 14 points, 5 rebounds, an assist, and a blocked shot for Juwan Gary. More so than anything like that, Fred Hoiberg said those guys stepped up in practice. They raised their level. They held guys accountable. And Fred Hoiberg said they're a different team when they play with edge, when they have physical practices all week long, and they remember that, hey, playing physical is the way to win. He says Nebraska's not a very good team when it gets comfortable. And there's a very fine line there, right? Because obviously if you look at Nebraska's offensive rhythm, you want to be comfortable. 30 of 49 shooting over 60% is fantastic. 8 of 14 from 3 is really good. In terms of assists, 16 on 30 field goals. Not bad, maybe not exactly where Nebraska wants it, but there's a difference between being in rhythm and being comfortable, right? I think Nebraska was maybe riding a little high after a couple wins going to Michigan State, and the Huskers didn't. It's not even that they didn't pack their bags. They didn't get it done at home. They didn't take care of business in practice before they hit the road. So Fred Hoiberg said the key for this team, more so than anything that happens in the 40 minutes here, it's just as, if not more important for this team to set the tone during the week leading up to games, because that's really been what's foretold Nebraska's success or demise.
I feel like that 6 days between the Michigan State loss and this game were very big. I feel like if this would have been just, 3 days after the Michigan State loss, this could have been a completely different game. But, having almost an entire week to kind of recuperate, get your mind right, I feel like was really needed for Nebraska.
I would agree with you, except that Nebraska also had 6 days off before Michigan State.
Yeah.
So that's the pushback that I have there, is that Nebraska goes to East Lansing fresh off home wins over South Dakota and North Florida, and the Huskers weren't ready. It was 6 days. So sometimes you need that much time to get right. A game like that against Michigan State, obviously you got to go back and watch the film, see what they did, what you didn't do. But more important than anything from that is being able to flush it quickly. Sometimes a 6-day layoff is a long time for you to think about it. You can say you got your nose to the grindstone, you're working hard, but especially for the fan base, right? Football season's not over. That helps this team. But think if this team would have done this last year, right? Football not making a bowl game, basketball off to a hot start. They drop an egg to start conference play. There's a lot of chatter. Nebraska basketball has people's eyes and attention. It was a great crowd here tonight, despite the icy weather on the road. So credit Nebraska fans for that. 6 days is something that you take it when you can get it. It's going to be interesting to monitor, Ben, because there's another long break for Nebraska before they go out to Hawaii for their 3 games in 4 days. Then they'll come back from that, have a couple days off, and then play Southern here at home on Monday, December 30th. So I think for this team, more than anything, the 6 days wasn't good. It wasn't bad. I think Nebraska just did a better job of handling it this time. Now, you're not going to get many 6-day breaks, if any, in Big Ten conference play. So enjoy the rest, get recuperated while you got it, because after the new year, the grind's really about to kick in.
Andrew Morgan had a pretty kind of, I don't want to say under the radar, but, had a pretty good game, 10 points, 4 or 5 shooting from the field, 5 rebounds. Can you kind of talk about Morgan's, difference he made in the game?
Yeah, Andrew Morgan, probably the biggest play he made all night was it led to a dead ball. But he grabbed an offensive rebound and got fouled when Nebraska was up. I believe it was 72-67 is what it was. And if Nebraska doesn't get that offensive rebound, I believe they go and they score with a Bryce Williams 3. Goody misses the 2 threes, and then Juwan Gary hits the wing 3 from the opposite side of the court to stretch it to an 11-point game. Andrew Morgan got a couple timely post buckets. He was very physical defensively, did a pretty darn good job in defensive rotations, hedging, and then getting back to Ballo mostly was his assignment here today. This was a step in the right direction for Andrew Morgan, who hasn't been bad to start the year, but this is a guy that looks like he thrives in this type of game with a couple of opposing big men where he can be both physical and athletic. It was an impressive and necessary performance from Andrew Morgan, helping Nebraska over the finish line, especially in the second half tonight.
The bench performances going forward of the season in Morgan, I feel like they're going to be very important. But, looking forward, yes, Nebraska is going to be making a quick trip to Hawaii, then they play Southern. But I want to look at after that. Nebraska's next 4 conference games, UCLA, Iowa on the road, Purdue on the road, and then Rutgers comes here to Lincoln. That's a tough stretch for Nebraska. How do you see that maybe going for Nebraska?
We'll see, right? I don't want to get too far ahead of myself with a couple few weeks to go before that, because a lot can change in college basketball in not a lot of time, right? Louisville goes down to the battle for Atlantis. Feels like they're rolling near the championship game. They lose 2 of their most important players in that tournament. When you look at those 4 games specifically, right, UCLA is the William Kyle revenge tour, and my preseason pick to win the Big Ten. I think UCLA is extremely talented. I think Mick Cronin is built for the Big Ten. Excited to see the Fighting John Woodens come to Lincoln. At Iowa, not a place that's always been kind to Nebraska, and one of the only places worse than Carver Hawkeye Arena for Nebraska has been Mackey Arena. That place doesn't take hardly anything at all to get it rocking. Nebraska has not handled that environment very well. Iowa's going to put up points. Purdue is not the Purdue of last year by any means, but that's still a solid top 15, top 20-ish team. I'm going to be curious to watch the Raleigh Wooster versus Braden Smith matchup. Probably get some Bryce Williams versus Braden Smith as well. And then Rutgers, right? Rutgers is, for my money, the most fascinating team in the country this year. Nebraska did not play well going out to the rack in the second half, blew a big lead, never got back in it. Rutgers ends up winning that game. It's an interesting series between these two. Nebraska to this point, no offense at all to Ryan Kalkbrenner or Stephen Ashworth or Augustus Marshallonis, or anyone from St. Mary's or even Michigan State. For my money, Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey are two of the 10 best players in college basketball. Kalkbrenner's up there as well. Harper has a legit chance to go number 1 overall. He scored 35 points a few times already this year. Ace Bailey is a guy that really no team has a good matchup for. He's 6'10". Think Kevin Durant, right? That's kind of his shot diet in the way he plays. You don't really have answers for a guy like Kevin Durant.
That's
starting off with those 4 games, UCLA is going to be veteran, experienced, old. Rutgers is a complete wild card. I'm curious to see the line for that one. And then you get to go to 2 of the road arenas that have treated you worst in Big Ten play since you joined the conference. So it really is a fascinating stretch and made tonight even more important for the Huskers to get on the board in Big Ten play.
All right, Austin. I think that's going to do it for our post-game coverage. Thank you for joining on the stream. I want to give one last shout out.
Feel better.
I'll try. I want to give one last shout out to our sponsors, Action Plumbing, Heating, AC, and Electrical, as well as Lincoln Wall to Wall Wine and Spirits. Thank you for sponsoring post-game. Austin, thank you for joining. Strick, thank you for coming in studio. That's going to wrap it up for Nebraska post-game basketball. We'll see you next time on 93.7 The Ticket.
Your Christmas list changes a lot as you get older. Dreams of video games, remote control cars, and baseball gloves turn into dreams of shoes. You know, practical things. Brown Shoe Fit is the king of shoes in Lincoln, with brands like Sorel, UGG, Brooks, Hoka, and more to make you fashionable and comfortable.